Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Just Another Talk. And today we're going to talk about Trump's tweet or post or truth. I don't know what you call it. But he posted something on Truth Social, and this is what he said. Tuesday will be the power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Listen, I have mixed feelings about some of the words he used, but finally somebody just says it how it is. This is how we all feel. Now, this is obviously kind of a wild post. You know, maybe you don't want your president talking like that, but at the same, I'm kind of on both sides of the fence because at the same time, I kind of want the truth and, this unfiltered message, especially to people who've killed Americans over a long period of time. I think it's like 47 years now. And then also the fact that they're terrorizing other parts of the world. It's like, all right, this is kind of fair. I'm not necessarily mad at him saying it in this format. Could he have said it better? Yeah, but at least we have somebody in the White House who says somewhat what he thinks. CNN is kind of losing it. So let's see what they had to say.
Paula, what's the reaction to President Trump's newest demands to Iran? What can you tell us?
Well, Ben, we're
what can
getting
you
a
tell
lot
us?
of reaction from Iranian officials to that social media post threatening to target power plants and bridges with the expletives as well. Now, we've heard from the
expletives, you mean? But okay.
Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf. He's really emerging as a very powerful voice in Tehran at this point, and he's accused Trump of pushing the US towards a living hell and warned that the region could burn. The Iranians have been saying that they will target in kind if there is civilian infrastructure targeted in Iran, in the
who are they going to target?
region and in areas where the US has interests. Now, we've also seen fairly tongue-in-cheek reaction from some of the Iranian embassies around the world to that outburst in that social media post. We've heard from the Iranian embassy in India saying swearing and throwing insults are how a sore loser brat behaves. Get a grip on yourself, old man. Now, there's also been criticism
moral
within the
argument, but
US.
okay.
Chuck Schumer, for example, the Senate Minority Leader, calling Trump an unhinged madman from that expletive-laden social media post. We also had.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want the unhinged madman part running the military because then no other country's going to mess with us. So when we say, hey, don't do this or blow you to smithereens, you actually have blown to smithereens. Like, instead of just saying, hey, don't do this, and then if you do that, we're going to blow you up, and then they do that and nothing happens. You kind of want the person running the military to be about what he says he's about. I don't get your point just yet, but let's see. Maybe she makes a better point.
There's a response from the foreign ministry spokesperson. Let's listen to what he said.
Iran's reaction would be
what would it be? Tell us.
Reciprocating any such attack.
You can't
Our
reciprocate.
armed forces have made it clear that in case Iran's infrastructure is attacked, we would react in kind. Our armed forces would target any similar infrastructure that is owned or in any way or manner related to the United States.
In other words, they can't really attack us directly, so they'll attack shit around or in close proximity to things we either own or care about in the region. Okay, that's what's new. You guys been doing that for 47 years.
Or contributes to their act of aggression against Iran. Threatening to attack a country's critical infrastructure, energy sector, it would mean that you want to put at risk the whole population. And this is nothing less than war crimes and crimes against humanity.
What about the shit that you guys do to your people? Isn't that war crimes too? To kind of cower behind the fact that, oh, well, that's a war crime. Well, you know who invented these rules? The folks with power. The countries who have the power to break these rules.
Now, what we're seeing in Iran overnight and then this Monday morning with airstrikes from the US and Israel, from state media, we are seeing in Baharistan County, this is just southwest of the capital, a densely populated area. We see a number of residential buildings that appear to have been hit there. According to Fars news agency, they say some 13 have been killed. Then in the eastern part of Tehran, 4 killed in another residential area. Now, CNN cannot independently confirm these figures, but we are also seeing loss of life in Israel and elsewhere.
Love how they say they can't confirm the figures. So what are we reporting on them for? It's a war. People bombing each other. What, let's get to some news.
First of all, there are supposed to be some sort of diplomatic talks going on. Pakistan is leading them. I can't imagine they're going well if we're back to threats online.
Yeah, Pakistan is essentially acting
I
as
don't know
a
if I'd call
shuttle
it a
for
threat.
messages
I'd
between
say
the
it's more of
two.
a promise, but okay.
Look, the two sides are so far apart, and from Iran's perspective,
How do you know
why
that?
not wait for President Trump to crash into one of his own deadlines once again or move it onward? Iran wins at home. Public opinion is shifting against Trump and his war, and
Do you really think Trump
they
wouldn't
win in
do
the
it?
international community.
Yeah, though it's
Don't
hard to
take
know what's
her
going on
advice.
in
That's a
Iran
bad
given their
idea.
crackdown, right, as the regime tries to take hold. But to your point of them digging in, when I look at the responses from Iranian embassies from around the world, because this is all being done by social media, the one in South Africa says, seriously, think about the 25th Amendment, Section 4. In Bulgaria, didn't know they had an Iranian embassy. Take it easy, Tiger. In Austria, saying he, quote, stooped to an unprecedented level of begging, laced with bitter, hollow rudeness and threats. The desperation is almost palpable.
All of that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely. What does it do? I think these posts are kind of ironic within themselves because they're using our systems in order to create dissent and chaos in our country towards the moves that Trump is taking. Whether you agree or disagree with the conflict, they're now causing gas prices to go up, regardless if you feel, well, Trump shouldn't have done it, that's Trump's fault. Okay, even if so, but closing that strait restricts trade for multiple other countries and it causes chaos all throughout the world. To then turn around and actually think that putting up a post is going to garner sympathy from the people within the United States who dislike Trump and don't want this to happen is going to help you in the long run. It's asinine and it's kind of baffling in a bit. Even the lady who said earlier, oh, they should just wait until the deadline expires. Why? To get blown up? You think he's not going to do it? I mean, that was one of Trump's biggest promises on the campaign. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. If they continue to go on the format they're going, we're going to blow them up. He said it plenty of times.
Sarah, can I come to you? Because they are speaking Trump's language in that they're doing it online. They're doing it in a very sort of memeable way. Can you talk about this response?
Yeah, well, one thing that's interesting, always I'm thinking about the audience. So when you have Donald Trump, who has millions of followers on X and is a big global personality, I think there's a lot of visibility in terms of what his message is, where his message is reaching. I don't think anyone in America knows that those embassies are tweeting at us.
Yeah,
Right,
nobody's
we
laying
don't
in bed
care
being like,
either.
what's Bulgaria saying?
No
Sorry,
clue. So
Bulgaria.
those threats sort of fall on deaf ears with the American public. What Senator
Right.
Kaine
They
was
weren't
saying
threats,
over the
but-
weekend is that when Donald Trump makes these types of threats, that doesn't fall on deaf ears. Even with the internet blackouts in Iran, when Donald Trump is saying something like that, the people in Iran are listening. And
Right. I wonder why they would have internet blackouts in Iran. Could it be because they're trying to suppress the people and suppress information from getting in as well as getting out?
that matters because when you have a fighter who is being, crashing down in the mountains of Iran, sometimes you need the response of the people to make a decision about how they're going to react. Are they going to turn him in or are they not? And so I don't think that this is the exact same thing. When Donald Trump says something, it's a pretty big effing deal in his words.
Yeah.
When these embassies say something, I don't think that they have
Yeah, but it's not because he's Donald Trump. It's because he's the president of the United States.
as much impact, even though they're trying to match that tone.
At one point, the president says, "Praise be to Allah." This is how
Yeah, that was
Stephen A.
wild.
Smith talked
That was
about
wild.
it.
And you go on social media with a profanity-laced tirade, and then you gonna end
He
it
said
by
one bad
saying,
word.
"Praise be to Allah." How do you think that's gonna help us? How do you think that's gonna help us throughout the world? I mean, seriously.
I think this moral grandstanding, I guess, for lack of a better term, of like, oh, you think that's going to help us throughout the world? We have the bigger stick. That's how it's going to help us throughout the world. Whether you dislike America, or you like America, or the past this or the past that. I'm talking about right now in the last couple years. You blow up soldiers, you cause issues. We're going to come and we're going to kill you, or we're going to take you and put you in jail, aka Maduro.
Who has taken up a new religion, sort of anti-Trump at this point. She also was commenting, because there's been a lot of conversation about how the Pentagon uses religious language. Yes. Anyway, so she was commenting, she says, everyone in his administration that claims to be Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. And then she says what we've heard a lot, this is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024.
Roll the clip.
I'm not looking to hurt them. I want them to be great. Let them be happy and good. But they can't have a nuclear weapon. And now they're very close to having one. And it's very dangerous for the world. Very dangerous for the world. I mean, the biggest problem today, in my opinion, the biggest risk is the nuclear weapons. The weaponry is so powerful today. And I want them to be a strong country. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon. You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Instead, we have a very hostile country that wants nuclear weapons. Can't let that happen. The main thing is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my main thing. The deal was a simple deal. Iran can't have a nuclear, it can't have a missile, can't have a nuclear missile. It cannot have that nuclear capability.
Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. They should have never been in a position where they could have had. If I were president, they wouldn't even be thinking about a nuclear weapon. And now they're months away from getting one because Biden doesn't have any idea what he's doing. He's grossly incompetent, and he has no idea. Iran should never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and Biden should never have allowed them to get this far.
They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. With Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Hope we're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon, because once they do, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different negotiation.
Did you guys hear what I heard?
Talk about either the messengers here or the message.
Well, peace does not seem to be at hand in Iran, I'd say that. And the events over the weekend just seems to embolden both sides to stick it out and see what happens next. We're not getting closer to a negotiated settlement. We're getting farther away from them. The rescue of the airmen, for which we were all grateful, was a demonstration to Trump about we can do whatever we want militarily and succeed, but at a great cost. And from Iran's point of view, that is a cost worth forcing the United States to pay again.
You know,
this thought process that Iran is actually costing us something, and granted, these things cost money, so yeah, there's a cost to them for sure. But the fact that she thinks that we can't sustain the firepower that we have compared to what Iran is doing, to me, just really shows either she's lying or she's really that dumb and doesn't believe that the U.S. can overpower Iran.
One of the things I'm noticing now is Trump is talking about power infrastructure, going against that. And then I want to play one more thing for you. This is from some Israeli officials who are also talking about threatening infrastructure. It's Israel Katz, who's the defense minister.
The terrorist regime in Iran continues to launch missiles at the Israeli home front, killing and harming Israeli civilians. If they continue firing at civilians in Israel, we will strike and destroy Iran's national infrastructure. We have severely damaged the steel infrastructure and the petrochemical industry, and today and every day there will be more to come.
Before, there was a sense that the U.S. and Israel wanted to preserve something of Iran's infrastructure. Do I have that right?
Absolutely.
Is that shifting?
Absolutely. But I think we
of
see
course,
it,
as it should.
the points that we've been making here.
You guys want to hold out? That's cool.
We'll
keep beating you
in a way
until
that's
you
not really thinking strategically about what are going to be the ramifications of doing this. I was with a former NSC official over the weekend, and they were explaining that sometimes you choose not to strike certain targets because it's just not worth it. One, it might be a war crime, and in these cases, I think this is a very legitimate question to be having about what kind of information is Pete Hegseth getting about what targets they're choosing and what the legal, not just the legal ramifications could be, but the national security and the military ramifications. And I've spoken to so many officials who say, like, infrastructure like this for the whole population, when you are going to be turning off incubators for babies and things like that, that is a much, much more serious question to have.
Oh, you're going to be turning off the incubators for babies. What? There's a whole lot of other shit that's plugged into the network. It's not just babies. It's this like empathy. Oh, we need to have empathy. No, they're the enemy. Blow them the fuck up, okay? And until they decide to play the game the way we want them to play, you keep blowing them up. It's that simple. Like I don't get it. This whole idea that because we are a civilized nation that, you know, we can't do these things, and the fact that we need to handcuff ourselves when it comes to war is up, okay? It's dirty, it's horrible. I'm not saying aim for the population, but I'm saying whatever we need to do to make them cry uncle, yeah, make them cry uncle. It's really that simple.
And that should be a topic of discussion with expertise. I think we're also seeing in this war kind of the death of expertise. Where are the experts who are coming in and saying this may not be legal or this may not be the right thing? I don't think those people are getting.
And with that initial strike that landed on a school.
Why are they not getting any input? Is it because there hasn't been anything done that's illegal? As far as it being right or not right, who dictates that? Like, I'm tired of like, oh, we need to think about the right thing. No, we need to think about this from logic, okay? We have an enemy. They've been blowing shit up in the Middle East and causing chaos for 47 years. How do we fix that? Oh, well, we can blow them the fuck up until they stop. Sounds like a good idea to me. I don't know about y'all, but what do you do when a little kid is behaving badly? You spank them.
There was like, oh, okay, maybe it's the early start. Now we're deep in. And you have even people like Ann Coulter saying online, I really wish legal experts hadn't screamed bloody murder about every little thing Trump did so they could with authority now that he's actually committing war crimes.
Yeah.
I really wish legal experts hadn't screamed bloody murder about every little thing Trump did so they could speak with authority now that he's actually committing war crimes. Ann Coulter really said that? What war? Oh, God. Okay. Oh, these people are crazy.
Hegseth saying that see no quarter towards the forces, and also now talking about, you know, there are International Criminal Court judgments against Russia for doing this in Ukraine. You can militarily, under the Geneva Conventions, hit some parts of the power grid if they're purely for military purposes.
Right.
But if you do it on an extended basis and you add in things like desalination plants, which is what Trump is threatening to do, that gets you straight into the territory.
No, not really. He said bridges and power plants. That's kind of different. And yeah, if it's tied to keeping them in the war, blow it the fuck up. No one said anything about desalination plants. I think she's getting ahead of herself. But either way, I'd love to know what you guys think.